Finally, Krishna offered him one tulsi leaf and he was satisfied. Yome bhakta priyachati. So all the fruits and flowers, whatever else, can be offered to Krishna. Krishna accepts actually the love and devotion. And when Tulsi, who's the personification of love and devotion, was offered to Krishna, Krishna was fully satisfied. Of course, Indra was not satisfied because he had no idea what the purpose of sacrifice is. He thought he was the supreme in the universe, and therefore all sacrifice should be offered to him. But shramam eva hi kevalam, this is just a waste of time. We may get all the rain, we may get all the blessings of the demigods, but unless our sacrifice is meant for Krishna, we won't get love for Krishna, and without love for Krishna, no one can become satisfied. So Krishna added mercy to Indra. He wanted to bring Indra back to the understanding that sacrifices are not meant for him, they're meant for Krishna. But Indra, being puffed up fool that he was at that moment, decided to chastise the residents of Vrindavan for not offering sacrifice to him. Therefore he called for the Shambhantaka clouds and other devastating clouds. And the Shambhantaka cloud is the cloud that annihilates the universe at the time of universal destruction. So with all these clouds they came, and they started to pour water on the land of Vrindavan, and the land of Vrindavan became flooded. They took shelter of Krishna, and then Krishna, to prove how great a devotee is, Govardhan Hill, he lifted Govardhan Hill with his little pinky of his left hand and held it there for 7 days, and all of the residents of Vrindavan took shelter underneath the hill. And then many other pastimes went on for those 7 days, which are described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. But the essence is that the residents of Vrindavan, ultimately, they showed that by taking shelter of Krishna, they had no anxiety. Instead, they had blissful pastimes with Krishna. Masuchaha. That if necessary, Krishna will lift a hill like Govardhan to protect his devotees. Therefore, if we want to become free from anxiety, there is no other methodology other than to take shelter of Krishna. We may receive so many benedictions, either from Krishna, or from the demigods, or from our boss who we work for, or our temple president, our wife or husband, our parents, from so many different seemingly places of shelter. But the ultimate benediction is to learn how to take shelter of Krishna. Prahlad Maharaj says that, give the first word now, Nrsimha, Pitaro Nrsimha. That, my dear Lord Nrsimhadev, that people may take shelter of so many different things, just like the parents may try to give shelter to their child. Bala means Pitaro Nrsimha. Or Nartasya, a person who's sick, Chadgadam. Chadgadam means medicine. May take shelter of medicine or a good doctor. Udavanti Majito now. Or a person who's on the water, they try to take shelter of a boat. Ihasya Ihanjita Shrestas Tat Twadvido Tanubritam Tvad Upekshitana. But if one does not get your mercy, then there is no shelter. In other words, even if the parents try to take Pitaro Nrsimha, even if the parents try to give shelter, Balam Sharanam Pitaro Nrsimha, Even if the parents try to give shelter to their child, if Krishna doesn't allow it, still the child will die. And even if the parents can give shelter to their child, still the child will grow up and he'll get sick and he'll die eventually. And then therefore Krishna says next that even if you have a nice medicine, even if you make it through childhood, and you have a nice medicine and a nice doctor when you get sick, still Krishna may will, and you may die anyhow. And even if the medicine works, how long will it work for? Eventually you'll grow old and die. And whatever other shelter you have, even a nice boat on the water, nice house, whatever else, it may temporarily give you shelter, it may not. But even if it does temporarily give you shelter, still you'll die. Just like I mentioned, when the Titanic crashed into the iceberg, so many people drowned, although it's supposed to be unsinkable. They thought it was so strong, they did not even bother putting enough lifeboats on the boat, because they thought, what's the use of wasting our money putting the lifeboats on the boat, because the boat can't sink. And therefore they spent all their money decorating their rooms for the rich people on the boat. And in its first voyage, it crashed into the iceberg and thousands of people drowned. One man was in the engine room, working the engines, and when the boat crashed into the iceberg, the engine exploded, and because the engine exploded, it covered him with oil. The water is freezing cold, and many people died because of the freezing cold water. They could not survive. Their hearts failed and they drowned. But this man was covered with oil, therefore the cold water did not affect him, and he was able to survive. 1 month later, he was walking down the street in America, drunk. He fell, hit his head on the curb, and in between the curb, there was a little bit of water. On the street, there was a little bit of water, and his nose fell into that little bit of water, and he drowned. In the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, freezing cold water, he survived, but he could not survive on the street of New York City. Therefore, we may think that we're safe, everything's all right, because we're in London and no one dies in London. Some years ago, there was one lady, there was a terrorist, supposedly a terror in Indonesia. In a nightclub, there were some terrorist bombs that exploded and killed hundreds of tourists from Australia, even from England. They were all killed. But one lady, she left 5 minutes before the bombs exploded, and therefore she was saved. So to celebrate the fact that God was so kind, it protected her, she went to Australia for vacation. And she was in the Great Reefs in the northern part of Australia, and she decided to go swimming in the middle of the night. So she dove into a lake, and a crocodile came and ate her.